Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm currently illustrating my first picture book. Please subscribe to my channel if you would like to follow along that journey and see my process of illustrating my first book. So today I'm going to share with you some picture books, not my own, other people's books. And when I'm looking for inspiration, obviously the first and best thing to do is to look at existing work out there. So I love to go to the library and have a look through all sorts of books, things that I probably never would have heard of or even know existed, books that aren't so popular, all different types of things, and just have a look through and see what I love about them. And often if I'm looking at books, I do it to solve a problem that I'm having. So it might be that I'm thinking about pacing, and is the story moving at the right pace? Is it going too quickly or slowly? Where should the middle point be? How long do I need for an introduction? Just seeing what other people are doing is really helpful. Or I might be thinking about colour schemes or characters, or how to illustrate a really busy scene, or like how to have enough white space and balance within the book. And obviously everybody's doing something different, so it's great to see the whole range of how people illustrate and then sort of see what I like. It helps me to play around with different things and see what I want to do in my books. So for this video I picked out some books that feel very autumnal, now that we are in the autumn if you live in the northern hemisphere, somewhere where you get 4 seasons. And I don't normally sort of read books on themes like that, but perhaps if you wanted to do some sort of autumn inspired illustrations, you might find this helpful. So I picked up a few books from my library, books that kind of felt sort of autumny to me. It might just be the colour scheme that feels autumn, or it might be a bigger part of the story. So we have Franklin and Luna and the book of Fairytales, which I really picked because the colour scheme feels very autumnal in this one. And then we have Our Gorgeous Baby. Again, I picked because it feels, even the cover, it feels like a sort of late autumn afternoon, the sun coming through, but it's kind of got those warm tones. And it does feature a little bit of autumn in the visual story, but it's not really like a key part of the story. And then we also have Ava and Acorn, which is much more of a book about seasons, and autumn, I think, is the sort of key season in this book. It's really used as a way of helping Ava to understand change. You can see the cover is really beautiful. It's got it's autumn, fallen leaves, and there's this sort of golden orangey foil on the cover as well, which is really lovely. So I'm going to be having a look through those books and sharing bits that I like about them, bits that have inspired me, kind of why I chose them for an autumn themed video. If there's books that I didn't include that you love, or really like autumny books that you love, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what books you enjoy reading in the autumn. There's still a few books that I'm waiting, that I've ordered into the library that I'm waiting to collect. So there should be a part 2 of this autumn picture book video coming out soon as well. So look out for part 2. Franklin and Luna and the Book of Fairytales is written by Campbell and illustrated by Harnett. So the reason I picked this book was because of the autumnal colour scheme. As I mentioned, Franklin is a dark green colour, very kind of foresty, and then he's got orange, I don't know what they're called, dragon things, wings, I guess. So there we go, there's Franklin in the forest with Luna, who also has red hair. So yes, it's very autumnal colour scheme. So the story is that it's Franklin's birthday, and he thinks all his friends have forgotten, but of course, surprise party. And they end up in a bookshop, which leads them into a magical forest where they meet all the different fairy tale creatures, different fairy stories, and they're a little different from maybe how you were told them. And then a very scary character comes along, and so they all want to go back to the real world to escape from him. And so they tumble back through to the bookshop, join in the big celebration of Franklin's birthday. I just love this final party spread. I mean, a party in a book. What better to have than a party at the end? I feel like that's the best ending, surely. You've got things like warm cups of tea. That feels very, very appropriate for the colder weather. Earlier on, the book shop, she's holding a cup of coffee, and it's looking pretty spooky in there, sort of maybe a little Halloweeny with spiders' webs and spiders and all these orange tones. One thing I really love about Katie's illustrations is that it's all hand painted, and you can really see the texture of that. There's a really great organisation called Orange Beak who run lots of evening talks all on Zoom, and they have a Patreon that you can join, and they offer tutorials and things for people writing and illustrating kids' books. And Katie's actually part of that organisation. She's one of the tutors and does workshops and the evening sessions. So there was a lady who spoke at one of these Orange Beak evenings, and I'll need to look up her name and I'll pop it on the screen. Who described her work as being, she wanted it to look like someone that loves you really much stayed up really late making this for you. So very like homemade, full of love. That's the feel of that she wants to have with her work. And I feel like very obvious hand painted textures in Katie's work really have that as well. And that feels like a very warm, autumny sort of feeling, you know, that kind of, I suppose it's, the reason I connect these two things is because when it's autumn, you want to stay in because it's cold and dark, and you want to just be curled up in a blanket and read a book and with a hot chocolate and watch a film and eat popcorn. And those feelings feel similar to the feeling of someone making you a gift that's homemade and they spent a lot of time on it and it's not perfect, but you can see the time that went into it and you can see the love. So that's kind of how that train of thought connects. But yeah, no, I think her paintings are beautiful, and they have this cozy warmth about them. And so this book is Our Gorgeous Baby, written by Smriti, hopefully I said that right, and Eve Coy. I'm going to pick this out because really they just felt very autumn in its colour scheme. Interestingly, I've read one of Eve's previous books. I think it was basically about a child looking after her dad. I think it might be called Looking After Dad, but yeah, I'll pop the title on the screen. And that was much more of like a cool toned book, lots of turquoisey colours. This is a very different feel, and I just thought it was interesting that a story doesn't have to be specifically about a season for you to be inspired by that season in the look of it. Maybe, again, that feeling of a warm hug. This book is about a sibling relationship, you know, a new baby and the challenges of that. So we have this beautiful sunlight coming in, which just feels like an autumn sunlight to me. It doesn't feel like a summer sunlight. And again, lots of like jewel tone colours, which is again puts us in those colder months of the year. Really lovely, and there's nothing about the narrative that means that this needs to be set in autumn, but we do have a spread where we've got the autumn leaves which they're playing with. So obviously, unless the author specifically perhaps mentioned this needs to be set in autumn, I think this was a choice from Eve, that she wanted to set this book in autumn and include all these lovely crunchy leaves and things like that. And that was just really interesting to me, that you can choose seasons, and even if you want to choose season just because you like the colours or what the emotion that the colours communicate, you can write that into the story, or illustrate that into the story rather. And again, here we have the family is sitting outside, but you can see the leaves on the tree are falling down, and they're wrapped up a little bit warmer than if it was a summer scene. I really love this last image as well. It is just, like it's very much, you feel like a glow of a warm light in the inside. Evening time. We're almost touching on winter, I think, in terms of the feel of this. Very cosy, really sweet book. And then we have Ava and the Acorn. This is I would say the sort of more the stories for older children. The text is a lot more poetic and longer. It's very beautiful text, but a child needs to be a bit more patient to be able to sit and listen to this. So let me read the first little bit to you. There's a whisper of wood smoke that tumbles and twists through the ribbons of dawn and the morning's soft mists. It weaves through the eaves of the house with a curl, then downwards it drifts in the breeze to a girl. Like a stunning writing, but just a little bit more advanced language, a little bit more challenging to say, but it really evokes that sort of cold, crisp morning. The leaves have come off the tree, the girl's wearing a hat and scarf, and we've got this golden morning light. So Ava and the Acorn is this story about the relationship between a granddad and Ava, and there's also an oak tree, which is kind of a character, but it's also sort of a metaphor for change as it goes through the seasons and the leaves fall. And so when they pick up an acorn and plant it in the spring together, he can show her that even though he won't live forever and the oak tree won't live forever, that there's new life. And at the end of the story, we have this lovely scene where we see the sapling grow into a tree, and then Ava grows up and has a child, and the child gets to see this tree that has grown. I think this is like the showstopper of the autumn scene, really. We've got the beautiful autumn tree and then autumn scene with Ava and her granddad. But the amber leaves rippled and slipped from her clutch till Grandad caught one with the gentlest of touch. No matter how mighty, no matter how small, time tick-tocks by and change comes to us all. No stopping the clock for our fading green tree, but change will be wonderful too. Wait and see. So I think that kind of sums up the sort of theme of this book. And the message, I guess, the message of this book. I'm sure there's lots more that could be said about this one, and all of them really, so if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. If you've read any of these, let me know what you really enjoyed about it. And I'll see you soon.